Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. We are going to get started in just a few minutes. Let's see. Here we go. Get this ready. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us for this BioNex and Biosero webinar. My name is Haley Dyer, and I am the Marketing Director at Biosero. I'm going to be hosting the webinar today and keeping on top of all of the questions that flow in. And I'm also going to be watching the chat. So before we get started with our presentation today, I just wanted to share some quick housekeeping information with you. The first important item to mention is that we welcome your questions. So if there's anything that's on your mind, please let us know. You can submit the questions through the Q&A panel right through this Teams window. So for me, that Q&A button is up at the top of the panel. And you're also welcome to just chat in, and I'm happy to take a look at those questions. And so right now I'm planning to hold the questions until the end, but don't hold back from sending them. If something is relevant, I will stop our presenters and jump in. And so the next thing I want to mention is that we are recording this webinar. So if you want to refer back to it after the event, it's going to be available to you. So without any further ado, I'd like to open up the floor to our speakers today to introduce themselves. Richie, could you kick us off?
Sure. Thank you, Haley. Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon. My name is Richie, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Applications here at BioNex Solutions. I've been with BioNex for a little over 3 years now, but have about a total of 25 years of experience in the automated equipment, systems, applications, and development. I love automation and everything that is related to the automation world. And I am really excited about the future that our partnership with Biosero can bring to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Richie. Dustin, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Dustin Whitson. I'm an applications consulting scientist here at Biosero. That means I focus mostly on pre-sales consulting, automation work cell design, and product demos for our prospective clients. I've been with Biosero for about 3 years now, but in lab automation for about a total of 7 years, but was a user of lab automation in the laboratory environment for about 5 years prior to that. So very happy to be here speaking to you all this morning. Take it back to Richie.
Awesome. I'm just going to hide my camera, but I'll be here in the wings. Thank you both very much.
Sure thing. Thank you, everyone, again for joining us today on this webinar. Dustin and I will be introducing some recent developments that will provide you with some new and unparalleled opportunities in your laboratory workflow efficiency, regulatory compliance, and integrated systems design. This new strategic partnership between BioNex and Biosero will definitely allow us to bring you a revolutionary solution in laboratory automation through innovation, collaboration, and technology. A quick introduction to our companies. BioNex is known for pioneering cutting-edge laboratory equipment technologies designed by engineering with decades-long experience. We're based in San Jose, California, founded in 2009 by the minds that started V11, and brought to you quintessential automation devices such as the Plate Lock Labward Sealer and the Bravo Liquid Handler. We now continue on that simple mission, which is to offer product solutions to enhance your automated laboratory workflow efficiency and streamline the sample processing. Products such as the Hive Centrifuge and Hive Automated Platform that allow you to focus on achieving results instead of upfront processing. We recognize the automation landscape is ever changing, and by combining the innovative design of the Hive Automated Platform with Biosero's fully capable GBG ecosystem, we can continuously extend our solutions in areas of compliance, workflow management, and data acquisition. All right, and now on to you, Dustin.
Thanks, Richie. Yeah, a little bit about Biosero. So we develop science-centric software and laboratory automation solutions that really enable researchers to orchestrate their discoveries at every stage. We have over 120 employees now, over 750 customers in 20 countries around the world. We serve 100% of the world's top 20 pharma companies. Founded in 2003, we have been a BICO subsidiary since 2021.
Thank you, Dustin. So the companies Dustin and I represent are both leaders in our industry, but we also believe in the power of collaboration to drive innovation. In combining our strengths, we can continue to provide our cutting-edge Hive Automated Platform with sophisticated workflow management in one complete package. Some of the benefits you can see right away include features such as 21 CFR Part 11 compliance, which means right off the bat, your new Hive can operate in a regulated environment with GBG's compliance module. This means you can use your Hive within the clinical and CRO space, allowing you opportunities to extend the usefulness of your Hive beyond just R&D settings and to now handle patient samples. There is also the advantage of having full workflow management capabilities under GBG. The Hive platform is unparalleled in its space-saving efficiency while providing a full automated workflow solution. With its vertical design, simple integration, endless customization, and ease of laboratory deployment, where literally you can just wheel the system off the delivery truck and into your lab. The bottlenecks in your sample processing, are virtually eliminated. We believe floor space is also a premium design consideration. Whether you're based in Boston, Cambridge, San Francisco, Bay Area, Biotech Bay in San Diego, or RTP, space is definitely a premium. With the Hive's vertical design, BioNex can deliver custom automation that takes up no more floor space than a standard lab bench. Next generation software meets next generation hardware by leveraging Biosero's leading scheduling software, regulatory compliance, and market enthusiasm. BioNex can really shift the focus back to our strengths of developing cutting-edge hardware. Putting both of our companies together will give you the best solution for a seamless laboratory automation experience. Enough of droning from me. We're actually going to switch gears a little bit, and I'll hand it over to Dustin, who will provide you with a quick software demo to show you some of the highlights of GBG and its capabilities. All right, Dustin, you have the ball.
All right, thank you very much, Richie. Let's dive in. I'll show you a quick demonstration of our Green Button Go GBG scheduling software. So I have created a new program here, and this is what you see when you first create a new program. Nothing is built out in the software yet. You'll notice here at the top left, we have a series of tabs here, and we'll proceed through those and generally into a left to right fashion. So we're going to start here on the Layout tab. This is where we would go about building our work cell in the software to replicate what's actually in the laboratory. So I'll just grab a couple of devices here from this left-hand column. This corresponds to the device drivers we have installed. So if I grab one of these, this is a robot arm, for example, you'll notice it's a drag and drop, low-code, no-code interface, and we'll see that design philosophy throughout the software. So I can position this wherever needed in the workspace here. I can grab some plate storage, orient that to the robot arm. Just of note, as I move these around, these don't correspond to any teach points or anything. This is just for visual reference only at the moment. Let's say we have a high-G centrifuge, for example. We can do the same thing here. And we'll just continue building this out with a few more devices. So we have a liquid handler and a sealer and a peeler, for example. And just to make this nice and neat, I'll go ahead and rearm these back to the arm. As I click on any of these devices, you'll notice that on the right here, we get a contextual menu with any communication or configuration parameters that are needed. For example, for the high-G, if we click on this, we can change this from high-G 4 to high-G 3, and we'll see the image match that as well. So regarding teach points, one final thing to mention here, we have a universal teach pendant so that no matter which robot arm is being used, we have a single interface for that, just to make it as simple as possible for the user to navigate. So let's say this is our work cell. We have this built out the way we want it. We would then go to the process tab. This is where we would go about building out the actual automated workflow. So the devices I've added, we see those here on the left-hand side, and we can expand this drop-down menu to see all the commands available within that driver. So we'd like to say that if you can talk through your workflow, you can replicate and build that out in the software here. So any of these driver commands, we'll drag and drop those into this plate process, this vertical column here. It can also be called a swim lane, just whatever your preferred nomenclature is. We can absolutely have multiple of these if needed. So this might be one plate type and its pathway through the workflow, but you can absolutely add as many as are needed for the workflow. So example, if you have source or destination plates, tips for your liquid handler, that would be where you would see those. So let's build an example workflow. Let's say we want to get a plate from a hotel. Say we want to spin it down, unseal the plate, put it on a liquid handler for a dispensing step before resealing the plate and then putting it back in the hotel. So it can be as easy as that to build out the workflow. Any one of these command tiles you can click on and change any parameters. So for example, the spin speed on the centrifuge is available here. This can also be variabilized to make it dynamic for any workflow that changes on the fly based upon that contextual information. Of note here, we also have a startup and shutdown process. These are anything you want to have execute at the beginning of the run before any plates enter the workflow. That would be the startup process, or conversely, the shutdown process, where you want to have some steps execute at the end of the workflow after all labware have finished. So any LIMS callouts or LIMS communications that need to happen, we can grab information from that LIMS, create a work list of certain barcodes to run within the workflow, for example, or direct commands to an instrument to prime pumps or anything like that. So before we get started here, there's one other thing we need to do, and that is for the liquid handler. As you know, these are typically more complex devices than, say, a plate sealer, for example. We can have multiple nests run multiple protocols. So the way we handle that in Green Button Go is through our universal sequence editor, and this would be the same interface no matter which liquid handler is being used. So the way we build that out is we just go into the sequence editor here, we give it a useful name, something that makes sense, of course. And then at the bottom left here, we see some commands we can add into the sequence. So the first thing we want to start with of this available menu here is the load labware step. And then we see a representation of the deck. So what we would do is choose which position we want to load a plate to, which process it's coming from, and this labware here is referring to the name of this plate process here. And then we see it show up on the deck just visually to remind the user what's happening in each step. So then we would add a load and run protocol step. And this is where you tell the liquid handling software which method you want to execute at this time. So we can just give it some name. Doesn't really matter in simulation at the moment. And then finally, to wrap up this very simple example, we just want to unload that piece of labware from the deck. So again, position 1, which labware process, and then here we go. This is, of course, a very simple example, but that's how you navigate the liquid handling sequence editor. So this is actually ready to simulate right now. However, if you'll notice, as I click on the Bravo, we get a red warning here to the user. This value cannot be empty. And that's just that the scheduler needs to know which sequence you want to execute for this liquid handler. There can be multiple, just depending on the workflow needs, of course. So I'd like to leave that blank for the moment to highlight some of the unique error handling features baked into GBG. So as we go to hit play here, again, I'll leave that intentionally blank for the moment. The first thing we're going to see come up, this is a representation of that storage device that I added. So we see 4 hotels, each with 22 shelves. And this screen is just asking the user where we have plates. This is, of course, a very manual way of doing this. We can also have this populate in a more automated fashion, either from a work list or from a LIMS interaction, for example. Just briefly of note, we can also set up zones within the storage devices if you want to designate a series of shelves or hotels for one particular plate type or another. And we can also assign labware here as well. So to get started, let's highlight a few of these shelves. And here in the bottom middle, we see some example barcodes. So let's say these are source plates. And if I hit the fill button, GBG will automatically iterate those source barcodes to give them a unique name. So now I have source 1, 2, and 3. So as I hit OK to get this run started, we should see an error. And we do see that error here. This is the error I referred to just a moment ago, where we need to specify which sequence we want to run. So we have 4 options here within this error handling feature here. The first 3, ignore, retry, and stop, do exactly what you might expect them to do. However, what's unique and very powerful about Green Button Go is this resolve button. So if I press this, you notice we are still in a pause state. The run is still active, but we are paused. But what this allows us to do is go back and make any changes to the method that we need to resolve any errors. So if I go select the sequence that I made, put that in the value here, just going to go back to the run tab so that we can see it happen. As I hit play, this run will pick up exactly where I left off. And so what's very useful as well for these real-time monitoring tools within the run tab. So on the left-hand panel here, we see that visual representation of our work cell. As a device is being used in the workflow, it highlights greens, indicating that it's in use at that given moment. In the middle panel, we see exactly what the scheduler is executing at the current moment. Right now, it's just running the base scheduler, looking for the next task that it can do. Since the first plate is still on the Hive at the moment, that it's waiting until this is done before it can do anything else. However, this still highlights the dynamic scheduling capabilities in that it's always looking for the next step that it can do to maximize the efficiency of the work cell. And then finally here on the Run tab, we have this live Gantt chart being built out on the fly so that we can see exactly what's happening with each plate at any given point in time. So also in simulation mode, we have a throttle here. So just to let this finish up, I will increase the throttle and we can see all those 3 plates that I populated in the system go about their workflow and finish up the procedure. And that looks like it's wrapping up right now. So the run has just finished, and it can really be that simple to get up and running within GBG. Excuse me, clear my throat for a moment. We also have a scheduling tab here within the software. So this is where you would come to calendar any runs to have them execute at a given date and time. So, a very important use case might be overnight when no one's in the lab. We can schedule a run to execute automatically to really maximize the utilization of your equipment in the laboratory. The last tab we have here within the software is the Advanced tab. And you'll notice to get up and running, we haven't had to come and touch anything within this the Advanced tab at all. This is where you would come, though, however, to set up any custom variables, custom user screens, or custom scripting needs. All the individual instrument procedures and commands that executed in the background, GBG has built those for you automatically. However, the user can come in here and edit or customize any of these as needed. So setting up any conditional branching to evaluate dynamic information on the fly and take different pathways, we can set that up. We can set up a looping behavior if necessary, or even custom error handling. So I showed you the default error handling behavior. We also have the ability to set up custom error handling to make it behave exactly how one would want to for the laboratory environment. Also of note here, so of course, 21 CFR Part 11 compliance is very important in regulatory environments. And I do have that module installed here. We call it the compliance module here at BioNex, but I'd like to show you a couple of features of that. So if we go to the settings menu here, under the security tab, we have a much more expanded palette of options for our password. We can set an expiration time. We can set logout time for the idle time for the system. If someone walks away for a designated period of time, we can set the logout time for that. We can lock out the software. Set a minimum password length, for example. Already cleared my throat again. Okay, now we're back up and running. Sound amazing again. Okay, so we also have this compliance area here. So we have a change log, user activity log, and a settings log. And this is where the audit trail information is housed within the software. So we have a timestamp, a username who made any change. This, of course, is the settings log. We see what was changed, old value and new value, for example. So all that information that's important in this regulatory environment is housed here. What's also important is a user management and permissions assignment user interface. So we have that available here. So right now I'm logged in as an administrator, so I have all of the permissions. But again, with the compliance module, you have all of these permissions available to give or take away depending on the actual needs of the users in the laboratory. And to wrap up for the compliance module, we also have the ability to lock down a program. So you'll see this Save Locked Program button here. Let's say this example program I just made has been validated and we want no one to ever touch it or change it again in these regulatory environments. We have the ability to do so within the software. So that wraps it up for the live demo here. I'm going to switch gears and just present a couple more bits of information that I think are important to share. Okay, waiting on PowerPoint, just a moment. Here we go. Okay, so we have several plugins available within GBG Scheduler. We've already seen the last two on this list here, the 21 CFR Part 11 Compliance Manager and the Universal Liquid Handling Interface. We also have several others, just depending on the application needs of the laboratory. So Batch Planner would be useful for scheduling recurring kinetic assays. Cell Maintenance Planner makes it easy to calendar and execute those cell maintenance applications. Multipath Scheduler is very useful for simultaneously controlling multiple robots or transportation systems. And then finally, Assay Scheduler, which is very useful to calendar and visibly see what's going on with simultaneously executing assays from different users. Slide. And what really enables and empowers all of this automation we've seen so far is Biosero's massive device driver library, which at this point is hundreds of drivers. And then finally here for the Biosero side, we do have a product and a solution for the entire continuum of lab automation, from capturing data from manual tasks like manual pipetting or scanning in barcodes, all the way up to the fully integrated biofactory level automations with multiple work cells and maybe a transportation system like a magnetic track, mobile robot, etc. So with that, I'll hand it back to Richie to wrap us up.
All right, thanks so much, Dustin. I know everyone's excited to get a brand new Hive, so if you're interested in a system purchase, you can definitely come directly to BioNex. We'll organize and plan the specifics of an automated system, such as workflow development, device integration, deployment in your lab, as well as being able to provide the first line of support post-deployment. Basic training, obviously, will be upon delivery, and advanced training on the Hive platform, Hive specific automated hardware are coordinated through BioNex, while advanced training on the GBG software will be handled by Biosero. The Hive automated platform with GBG are targeted for delivery starting Q2 2025, and right away you'll have full access to the existing GBG driver repository, with all the benefits of having an automated platform within the Biosero ecosystem, including their current and future modules. The Hive is a scalable, flexible, robust automation platform designed to meet your ever-changing needs. And now with Green Button Go, it just got even better. We're thrilled about what this new strategic partnership means for our customers. So leveraging together the strengths of BioNex and Biosero, we can introduce new possibilities to enable your success. Thank you, everyone. And now I'll bring you back to Haley.
Thank you, Dustin and Richie, so much. And I want to open the floor up now for anybody in the audience to ask questions and interact with Dustin and Richie. So again, feel free to use that chat panel or that Q&A widget up at the top. I'm happy to monitor both of those. And I'm excited to say that Ethan has asked a question, and I believe this came up during the GBG demo. So I'm going to direct it to you, Dustin. Can the data export and write to file options be written in Python?
Absolutely. So GBG has several workflow tools within the software itself. So in our drag and drop low code, no code interface, there are direct commands to write to file and have that done by the software automatically. However, if the user has a need to write to file or do file manipulations directly within a scripting environment, we typically use C# for most of our in-house application development. However, many users prefer to use Python, so we do support Python in our scripting engine as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Dustin. Abigail asked another question that may be for both of you. So can you touch on retroactive conversions to GBG for current Hive owners?
So yeah, I can take that. This is in regards to migrating your current Hive system into a GBG environment, and we will most definitely offer that as well. And so if you are interested in converting your existing Hive to running GBG, please go ahead and contact us at info@bionexsolutions.com with your request, and we'll get back to you and follow up with any specific needs that you need. We can also go over some of our plans, deployment, timelines, things like that at that point. So please give us a shout, and then we'll get back to you. Thank you, Abigail.
Okay, so we have another question from Jordan. Can GBG push GET from an API endpoint without calling a third-party executable? Dustin?
Yes, we do have an API available for GBG. I've implemented that and deployed that in the field myself, so definitely possible.
Awesome. Okay, I want to leave another minute. These have been some really great questions that have come in so far, and if there's anything else you want to know, we are happy to help you with it today. Okay, so Gregory is asking, what about other BioNex equipment? Currently, only the Hi-G 3 and 4 centrifuges are listed as GBG compatible.
Yep, so we actually are fully into our development process right now, and we are working collaboratively with developers at between BioNex and BioNex together to develop additional interfaces for BioNex specific devices such as the Hive robot, Bumblebee, HDS, as well as the plate movers and plate carousels. And so when you guys, hopefully everybody will be able to attend SLAS this year, we'll be showing off our Hive integrated platform running GBG for the SLAS conference.
Awesome. Thank you, Richie. So one more question. So Dustin, I think this one's headed to you. It's from Ethan. Can you describe a bit about how storage locations work in GBG, especially with scanning features to write inventory files with barcodes?
Yeah, great question. So GBG manages storage within the software, no matter which device is being used, whether it's a static hotel, a stacker, incubator, etc. We have a way to store and track that data, which barcodes have been used or which needs to still be run within the software. It's kind of handled in the background in a data table format. It depends, the specific answer to your question depends on which actual device we're referring to. For example, with a static hotel, our storage driver, we have commands, say, for different robot arms to go and scan that inventory automatically and populate those hotels. If it were an incubator, for example, it would depend on the device itself, like a Cytomat or Lyconic device. Some of those devices have those commands and those features available. It just depends on the internal configuration, of course. To get more specific, we might have it might be a case for a more specific demo at some point, because it might make more sense to see it visually. But we definitely can track all that information. And writing inventory files, it kind of depends, again, on which exact device we're talking about. It can be done either using the workflow tools that are automatically available in GBG. Worst case scenario, it might involve just a script, but again, that would be a very kind of edge case scenario, I think.
Awesome. Thank you, Dustin. There's another one for you, though, from Mason. Can you expand on the resolve error handling option? Are the actions a user can take to resolve an error preset depending on the error, or is it more dynamic?
Absolutely. So what I just showed was the very basic out-of-the-box error handling capabilities. That resolve button is very powerful, though, as far as making any changes or resolving errors kind of on the fly. There are two other methods that we can handle any errors that come up. There's a tool called Error Manager within the software, where if an error has been seen on the software, an instrument error, we can select that and choose a default action. For example, an auto ignore is something we can choose for that, or an automatic retry. Just depending on what the error is, would determine the wisdom of selecting either one of those options. And then beyond that, in the advanced tab, if there was another need to do maybe a specific action, like a case that I've worked on personally is a particular device throws an error, we want to retry 3 times before initializing, then maybe retry another 3 times. And then if it still doesn't work, then maybe we send an email to the user, or then throw the pop-up error to alert the user that there's something going on. That would be done in the advanced tab using those workflow tools that I mentioned briefly, where setting up a loop 3 times and then evaluating certain conditions.
Awesome. Thank you, Dustin. The next questions I think are headed for you, Richie. So, and they're on a similar theme. So does BioNex plan to continue development and support of vWorks for non-Hive systems, or will they offer options to transition vWorks licenses to GBG?
Short answer is yes, we will continue supporting vWorks, and we will continue supporting it until Agilent says stop. But we do plan on doing supporting every vWorks-based system out there, whether it's including BioCells or bench cell workstations, and any bug fixing that we will encounter along the way. Right now, for our partnership with Biosero, we will be supplying GBG on Hives only, and then we can discuss possibilities in the future for other systems as well.
So just following up on a question from Jordan that was related, is there any end of life for vWorks, or there's no date?
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
currently there is no plans for discontinuing vWorks.
Awesome. Thank you, Richie. All right. Thank you, everybody in the audience, for such wonderful questions. They are very enriching, and we can definitely get some more material related to the Hive out with these great details that we've covered here. I want to just give another 30 seconds or so, see if anybody else has anything that's on your mind. We have our time together. Okay, that is looking like it's come to the end. And with that, I'd really like to thank you, Richie and Dustin, for presenting today, and for everybody else who joined us online. Thank you so much for your time. The webinar recording is going to be available soon, so we'll get that sent out to you via email if you want to reference it. And if we can help with any of your automation needs, you're welcome to find us at bionexsolutions.com and biosero.com. Thanks so much for your time. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.